What's going on, guys? I consider myself a jack of all trades, but my name's Jeff, so welcome back to Jeff of All Trades. Today we're going over the Smith & Wesson Equalizer. This is a 9mm, pretty compact. It is a double stack magazine, holds 15 rounds. I really like this weapon. There's a few things that I don't like about it. I love that it comes red dot ready. Take that plate off, put on the adapter plate you need, and put on your red dot sight. It's ready to go. I don't like the backstrap safety on it, but that might just be personal preference. Besides that though, it's a reliable gun. I'm a sucker for Smith & Wesson, so obviously this one feels better to me than some other guns, except for that backstrap. But besides that, that's not what we're here for today. I'm going to show you how to take it apart, put it back together, some oil points on it. This is a brand new gun, so the cleaning is not going to be as detailed as some of the other ones, but you'll get the basics from it. Without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Alright, so let's get right into it. This is the Smith & Wesson Equalizer. I do like this gun for a compact. It is a 15-in-1 double stack pistol. It's definitely a compact. This is the Glock 43 for comparison. The biggest difference is this is again 15-in-1. This is a 6-in-1, so you get twice as much ammo with the Equalizer. Again, Glock to Smith & Wesson pretty much comes to which gun you like more. A few things I don't like about this is backstrap safety here. I've never been a fan of that. Even on the 1911s that I've shot before, I've done a few videos on them, I don't like the backstrap safety. It's not because I can't get it to engage, typically. It's just because I don't like having to have my hand perfect in the case of a life-saving event that I need to use it. On the other guns that I've used, I haven't had an issue with it, but I will say with this gun, there have been times where I've picked it up and shot it even with my normal grip, and it hasn't activated that backstrap. It's a little bit gummy. Maybe it's because I haven't used it enough, but it's not as responsive as I want it to be. But that also might be just my grip in general, or my biased opinion about it. The sights are good enough. Nothing to complain about. Typical Smith & Wesson sights. Very clear, very easy to read. The racking on it's smooth. I do like the cut slide the way it is. If you want to rack from the front or from the back, in whatever fashion you're going to do it, it's very easy to handle this gun. It's very easy to put one in the chamber and to do what you have to do. It also has an accessory rail on the bottom if you wanted to put on a laser or a flashlight, which is really, really nice. Magazine release is fantastic, super easy, and taking it apart is just like the other Smith & Wessons, but let's get right into that. First things first, magazine out. Let's make sure the weapon is clear. There's nothing in the chamber. First thing you want to do is pull the gun all the way back, put it into the locked position. Pull back all the way and push up with your thumb to lock it in. Once that's done, take the swing arm, swing it all the way down, and then go ahead and release the slide, and it'll come right off. Other guns you have to pull the trigger to release it. This one you do not. So there you go with the frame. To remove the barrel, first thing you want to do is take the spring out. Go ahead and put a little back pressure on this, push towards the muzzle of the weapon, and pull up slightly. You don't want to pull up too far. That'll remove the spring. It does have a different looking back to it, which we'll get into when we put this thing back together. That is important. And then simply push up on the barrel, pull out the back, the barrel will come out, and that is the disassembly for the Smith & Wesson Equalizer. Because this hasn't been shot too frequently, I'm just going to be using a regular nylon brush for this. just plastic. I'm not going to use a very abrasive brush for it. As you can see, there's not much wear and tear on it. Those oil points are mine already because out of the box I did take it, clean it, and then put my own oil on it. So you can see, well, the oil points of what I'm going to show you in a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and get this cleaned off just to show you how. Take a little bit of Hops 9 and just spray it on the gun. Be as liberal as you want. Scrub everything off. Then I'm going to use just a regular microfiber towel and I'm going to wipe all of that off. I don't want anything gunked up in there. I don't want any residual, all that old oil that might be on there. Get it all off. Let's go ahead and put this to the side. We'll move on to the spring. The spring is fairly simple. As I said, I've already oiled this gun before. Let's go ahead and clean this off though, because it does have some dirt on it. Go ahead and give it a spray. Go ahead and hit it with the brush. That's good to go. Let's move right into the barrel. Clean off all the excess oil that's been on it since the last one. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Again, I've had some bullets through it, but the barrel doesn't look too bad. But just in case, let's run the bore snake through it. And this is a bore snake. At the front, there's this brass piece here. You want to put that through the direction of the bullet. So you want to put it through the back towards the front of the barrel and pull the entire bore snake through. The benefit of the bore snake is better than using a regular brush, pulling it through with cotton swabs, making sure it's fully cleaned. So this has an abrasive edge here, which will get off all the crud that's inside of the barrel. And then it's thicker at the end to pull out all the excess dirt and to swab it completely clean. So what I like to do is spray the front half of this to get it lubricated and then to get it cleaned, and then the back half to keep dry so it dries out the barrel. Just go ahead and give it a nice dose. Drop that through the barrel. They have these for all different calibers: 22, 9mm, 45, 22, 223, anything you could imagine. Go ahead and run it through one more time. And I know it was clean before, but it looks brand new now. Outside of the barrel, it's already pretty lubricated, but let's give it a little bit of a spray. Give it a quick scrub down. And then we move on to the slide. All right, now we're going to get into cleaning the slide. So you can see there's a little bit of leftover oil, a little bit of gunpowder in there still from some of the rounds that I did shoot with it. So same thing, go with Hops 9, spray her down. And then just take your brush. And there you have it. Everything's nice and clean. Nice and dry. We're ready to go into the oil points. The oil I'm going to use for this one, instead of using hops, I'm going to go ahead and use the M Pro 7. So this is just gun oil that I picked up at a gun store. In my opinion, I'm sure people are going to argue about it. I don't think there's any real difference between the oils that you can get. There's tons of them on the market. As long as you're keeping your gun wet, in my opinion, it's better than nothing. Let me get some gloves on and we'll get right into this. Alright, now my rule of thumb with any weapon that you're going to be oiling is to go by the wear marks. So as you can see right here, you got wear marks here. This is where it goes across the brass, right? These rails on the inside here, and in here, right on the rails on the frame itself where you can see the wear marks, right? Back here and up here as well. So you want to keep all of those points well oiled, any moving parts, right? Similar to anything else that you're going to oil or lubricate, it's pretty much any moving parts that has metal on metal that's going to cause some friction. So when you're doing oil, just one dot, a lot goes a long way. I don't even squeeze the bottle, and go ahead and rub it on. You can see how that's on there, how much I used, one drop of oil. So now I'm going to go ahead and rub off the residual. We don't want this thing dripping in oil, we just need enough to keep it lubricated. You can see the shiny surface on there now. Now I'm going to do the same thing in these rails here. I'm just going to put one drop in there. And then maybe one drop back here. I'm going to wipe it all off anyway, so. There you go. And now for this, I'm actually going to use one of these Q-tips. This is just a long wooden handle with a Q-tip on the front. You can use any Q-tip, but I feel like it's really easy to rub in those grooves all the way up and down. You can use your finger, you can use a piece of cloth if you want, but I feel like this is the best way to get it in there, and at the same time removing that oil as well. So if I can get that in there, there you go. You can see the light shimmering on that all the way up and down. It's well oiled. Go ahead and flip it over. Let's do the same. One drop. One drop. There you go, all the way through and across. Now the best part with this is you don't have to be too crazy about putting the oil on these rails here, on the inside here, because you're going to also be putting oil on the frame itself where these ride. So it's actually going to get oiled twice. So let's get off this on the side here. We don't want that. And there you go. That's all you need for the frame. Let's move on to the next part. Next part is going to be the barrel. So the barrel goes in and out. You can see this wear and tear on the barrel itself here. You can see kind of these wear marks. That's where it goes through the slide, goes back, gets a new round, shoot a bullet out. So it's constantly rubbing on that slide there. So we're going to put a little bit on the outside of the barrel. I just take one drop, maybe one on the other side. Just use your finger and rub it in. Get that well coated. And again, if you rub it all off, you can see how much stays on there. You see how glistened it is compared to how it was before. So when you're rubbing it off, you're really not rubbing everything off. If you compare the barrel to right here, you can see the difference of how well it's oiled. That's all you really need. You do not want your gun dripping in oil. We already sprayed the spring, cleaned it off. Because that is a lubricating oil as it is, I typically don't add any extra oil to the spring. You could take a dot, put it in there, rub it in, move the spring back and forth on the rod, and make sure that it's well oiled. But you can see the glistening on this already, so I'm really not going to add any more to it. I don't want there to be anything gunked up in there or have anything stick to it that doesn't have to stick to it. So we're just going to move on from there and go right into the frame. So the frame, this is your fun part. Very, very simple. See the wear marks of the silver. Wear marks of the silver in the back there. We're going to go ahead and hit all those with some oil. Rub them in, rub it down. The hammer here, I'm not going to put any oil on that. Just these rails here. And then we should be good to go and ready to put this thing back together. Just one drop on each. Now, if you're at this stage, you could leave that like that. You could definitely leave that. To me, it's a little bit too much. I don't like how it's pooling. The more that pools, the more grime, the more dirt, sand, wherever shooting environment you're in, the more that's going to pick up. So I like to just dab these a little bit. And you got to remember, we already oiled the slide, which these are going to run on as it is. So go ahead and wipe that off and just get that shiny metal that we're looking for there. So with all that done, let's go ahead and put this back together. Now the first thing you're going to want to do when putting this back together is grab your slide. Hold your slide with the front facing to your left. At least this is how I can do it. If you're left-handed, you could do it the other way, I suppose. Take your barrel. You want your barrel to slide into that bottom hole. And you want the flat side of the barrel to be facing into this notch here, or towards the top of the slide. So go ahead and slide that in. It'll fall right into place. Push it back until it locks into place. Now, when installing this spring, I told you there was something different about it. You can notice the spring has a flat end on each side and then a rounded end on each side. When you put this in, you want to put it in the way it's meant to go. If you put it the wrong way, it will not slide onto the frame itself. If you put this flat side down, it will not slide in. So I can show you. It'll lock into place. And it looks like it'll work if you put it like that. You got the flat side on the top, flat side on the bottom. It looks like it's not going to get in the way of anything, but when you try to put it on, it actually will not go onto the frame. So when you put this spring in, you need to make sure the rounded part is on the barrel itself. If you look at the barrel, you can see the seat right here where that rounded part is supposed to go. So go ahead and take it, put it in that bottom hole there, compress the slide a little bit, compress the spring a little bit, and it'll fall right into place. Make sure it's centered. And when you look at it, it's going to look wrong. At least to me it did. It looks like it's too high. It looks like it's not going to work. But that's the way that it has to be installed in order to put the slide onto the frame. The other difficult thing, this safety. You see it pushing this back here. Okay? When you're putting this on, if you're holding the gun and you're squeezing it and you try to put this frame on, it's going to hit right there and it's not going to go on. So you have to be careful when you put it on that you don't have this compressed. On top of that, this gun has an internal hammer. So if we hold the hammer, do this correctly. Here's your hammer. This is what goes when you pull the trigger, hits your firing pin, and it expels a round out of the gun. This hammer needs to be in the locked position before putting the slide on. Put pressure on it all the way down, and it'll lock into place. So you need that hammer to be down. Don't pull the trigger, the hammer will go forward, and you got to make sure you don't have any pressure on this safety on the back there. Once all that's done, this is still in the down position. Go ahead and line up your rails on the frame to these rails on the slide here. Slide it in nice and straight. Now it's on. You can go ahead and press this now if you want to. It's not going to change anything. Pull the slide back. Push up on the slide lock so it's in the lock position. And go ahead and push this forward until it snaps into place. Pull the trigger. Function. And it's good to go. And there you have it. How to take apart, put back together the cleaning and the oil points for the Smith & Wesson Equalizer. All in all, this is a decent gun. Probably not my first choice. If you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you know what guns that I favor. But it is a great gun. My biggest issue with this weapon is the back strap safety. I really don't like this. I understand that if you hold the gun the right way and your palm is pushed all the way up, you're not going to have an issue with it. It's just not my cup of tea. If that doesn't bother you, I recommend you pick one up. It's a great gun, and if you have one already, I'm glad that I could help you take it apart and show you how to oil it correctly. Comment down below and let me know if you have one of these. Make sure you like the video, and as always, be safe. I'll see you in the next one.